G'day, welcome to This is Riffin. Today we're going to look at Writhe by Kyuss. Another banger track by Kyuss that I've been wanting to do for a while now. It's a fairly straightforward one, but I'm going to give you some options as always to look at. So with all my videos, just please note it's just a guide for you. It's not 100% correct. And please excuse the dodgy video quality, sound quality, tab quality, and all that jazz. It's a work in progress and I'll get there slowly. For the keen eye, the tabs that I put on the screen are obviously way off. So the rhythm or the notational values aren't correct there at all. I've just huddled the frets together just to help it come across a bit easier for you. Today again, I'm just playing through Old Faithful Fender Jag. That's plugged into my Fender Champion 100 Solid. No pedals or anything, I'm just using an overdrive setting to my liking. But I will recommend just playing through your neck pickup, which helps, gives it a bit more beef. So to play this banger, you'll just have to tune your guitar to C standard tuning, which goes like this: C, F, A sharp, D sharp, G, and C. But I'll probably just refer to standard tuning being E, A, D, G, B, and E. For the opening riff there, I'm going to give you a couple of options that you can do with your fingers, just because it is just a couple of power chords, but getting to the fret 2 could be a bit tricky depending how you like to do it. So I'll just give you a couple of examples. So it is just an open power chord on the top string, which is open, 2 on the A, and 2 on the D. So I was just barring that with my first finger for the first example. And you strum that 3 times before quickly going to fret 2 as a power chord on the top string. So that's fret 2 on top with your first finger, fret 4 on the A, and fret 4 on the D. Josh generally likes to use 3 fingers for his power chords. So getting to the fret 2 can be a bit tricky if you're going to do that method. You could always just do a straight up power chord without worrying about the D string if you really wanted. It still has the same effect, but it's just not quite as beefy, I suppose, with that extra octave in your pinky. So if you are going to do the 3 finger method there, you can actually do the open power chord like this with your 3rd finger on fret 2 on the A and your pinky on fret 2 on the D. So when you do that first open power chord, you can just slide that across to fret 4, and your first finger goes to fret 2. So that just makes life a little bit easier there to whip across like that. So yeah, up to you, whichever way you want to do it. You potentially could just do open on top as well, rather than doing the open power chord. That might make life a bit easier as well. I think Josh does the open power chord though. It's just got a bit more punch to it. So yeah, a few options for you there. It's also just worth noting that there's a slide before the wicked riff to come. So you can just do from around fret 14, a slide down. Anywhere really, just so you get that slide sound will work. So for this awesome riff, you're just going to be doing mostly power chords, and there will be a bit of a slide chucked in as well. So you can start by doing open on top just by itself into a fret 2 power chord on the top string. So again, 2, 4, 4. Try and do the 3 fingers if you can. But again, you could just do a straight power chord as well. So just 2 and 4. So you're going to go open on top, 2, 2 as a power chord, open on top, 2 as a power chord again, open on top, 2, 2 as a power chord, open, 2 as a power chord, open on top, before going to fret 5 as a power chord on the top string. So it's 5 on top, 7 on the A, 7 on the D, and you're going to move that shape across to fret 6, so you're just sliding, which you do twice. So that fret 6 power chord's fret 6 on the top, 8 on the A, 8 on the D. I've seen a few dudes do like a bend there, which you can get away with as well. It just doesn't have the same impact as the slide, which is just a bit tighter when you hit that fret 6. And you can see when I'm doing that first riff there, I'm actually just leaving these fingers on fret 4 and 4. I sort of slightly release them off the fret, just so it sort of mutes it a bit. Cuts it off a bit so they're not just ringing out. Which you don't really want that to happen. So I'm just slightly bringing them off the fret, but still touching the string, if that makes sense. So it's just my first finger that's really coming off the strings here. All downstrokes really helps make it sound tough as well. It's got that real cool feel where you're sort of stomping that fret 2 right there. If you are struggling with the slides, of course, you could just play the fret 5 then, fret 6 as well, and just do straight power chords. So you can get away doing that as well. And the slide really seals the deal. Yeah, super fun. I'll throw a couple of options your way to play for the verse, which is pretty similar to the last riff we just looked at, except the first verse I think is just a little bit different to the second verse, and then you can mix it up here and there. Sounds awesome both ways and you can't go wrong. So one of the ways you can play it, particularly in the first verse, it sounds like Josh is doing this. It's where you actually start the riff at fret 2 rather than an open. You're mostly going to be palm muting the riff as well. So on the tab there, I've put an X where you try not to palm mute it, which just gives it a bit more oomph when you don't there. For that one. And then for the slide part as well, try not to palm mute that. So you're going to be starting at fret 2, which you played 3 times. And then the rest of it's all the same as the first riff. It's really just the start of the riff there that's just that little bit different. And as I mentioned, I think the second verse starts actually with an open instead of a fret 2. With everything else being the same. A slight variation on it, which I think Josh does from time to time, is there's just another open, and that's more in line with the actual main riff itself. So yeah, my point being there, you can definitely get away just playing the main riff palm muted for most of the time. But I think the first verse starts at fret 2, where the second one starts with an open. And a variation. Again, I was just doing all downstrokes. Definitely can just do it as normal power chords. Little bend to fret 2 sounds cool as well. So yeah, couple of options as always. Throughout the verses, you can just hear this note going on. Sort of comes in and out. It's just in the background there. That's just a fret 7 on the B string if you wanted to add that at all for any reason. I don't even know if it's on guitar, but yeah, definitely worth noting that's there in the verses. Give you a couple of options for how you can play the chorus just to annoy you as always, but pretty much the difference is either just playing a normal power chord, depending which way you like to do it, or by beefing it up with the top string as well, which sounds awesome. So yeah, it's up to you, but I'll show you both ways. But the first one's just a power chord at fret 5 on the A string, so 5, 7 on the D, 7 on the G if you wish with your pinky. And so you're just going to strum that a few times. Mine's not exactly how Josh strums it either. I'm just going with the feel there. So it's a bit different to the tab even how I might play it. I feel like I can hear a 5-7 hammer on the top string. Something really similar to that's in there. So yeah, you can whip that in if you want. That's 5 to 7. Just using my first to my third finger as a hammer on the top string. Definitely sounds like there's something there. And then you got to get to fret 7 as a power chord after that on the A string, which is 7, 9 on the D, 9 on the G, if you want. You strum that a few times as well. Again, the feel's a bit different to how I might play it compared to the tab, and definitely compared to how Josh plays it as well. Before working your way up to fret 9 as a power chord on the A. 11 on the D, 11 on the G. You're going to strum that a few times. And then Josh is whipping something like this in there, which is just an octave on the A string. So 9 on the A, holding fret 11 on the G. And your goal there is to block that D string. So you can still strum like crazy, but not hear it. And so my first finger is just lightly resting on the D string there. When I do mine, my first finger is pushing up against the top string, which actually allows me to strum all the strings there without hearing it. So it's blocking that top string and blocking the D string as well. So that makes life a little bit easier. That naturally happens over time. So you strum the 9 and then slide up to fret 12, holding that shape. So 12 on the A, 14 on the G. Again, that same sort of technique of blocking the strings. So you go up to 12 and then go back to 9. So when you slide to 12, strum it 2 more times, 1 more strum with a slide back to 9. Stay on the 9, and it has a feel sort of similar to that. I'll probably jump to my pinky without noticing sometimes for my power chord. has a bit of a feel like this. I'm whipping in extra strums here and there when it feels right to me. I'm doing down up strumming as well. The other option I mentioned earlier is where you really beef it up by playing the top string as well when you power chords. So you hold 5 on top, 5 on the A, 7 on the D, and 7 on the G. Which is a bit of a running theme with a lot of Kyuss riffs that I talk about, where you can do that. Really gives it beef. So yeah, it's up to you if you want to do that. Dropped it down to fret 2 here, which is just the octave higher of fret 9 on the A. Way more heavy when you go to the top string. It almost sounds like Josh whips down to fret 2 there on the D. So I just dropped my first finger down. So I was just playing fret 2 on the top string a couple of times, dropping my first finger to 2 on the D. A little opens whipped in there on top string, back to the 2 on the top as a power chord. It sounds like there's something like that going on. You don't have to do that at all. I just thought it was pretty cool. Sounds cool. Otherwise, just stick to going up to 9, which Josh, he might actually do. So you're going 5. And this is the second round. So you can go just up to 9 if you want. Or instead of going to 9, go to 2 on the top string. Whip that in if you want. And then you get that cool little tail end there, which is fret 2 on the top string, hammer on to 4. So I just used my first to my third there. Same thing on the A string. 2 to 4 as a hammer on. And then you go on to the D. Same thing again. 2 to 4 as a hammer on. And then a couple of extra 4s with a little bend at the end. And that comes up a bit later as well. I do just want to mention that it is tricky sometimes to decipher exactly what's going on, especially with the bass being so low and Josh is so low as well with his sound. So both of them can sort of get intertwined with one another. The chorus is a good example of that, especially for this bit. The 5 to 7, up to 7 as a power chord, and then the 9. It's possible Josh could even like whip back to 7 there. It could be even something else going on there that Josh does, but it's just a bit tricky. So I've just kept it pretty straightforward and simple. Work your way up to 9 as a power chord. And for that second round, go to fret 2 if you want. Something like that going. Just definitely worth mentioning that Josh could be doing more there that I might have missed. So I'll sort of just run through that slowly for you. Put that in if you want. You don't have to. Definitely beef it up with the top string both times if you want. And then if you want to. The second chorus is a little bit different and I'll talk about that a bit later. We'll just slowly look at the tab here for the awesome solo. It's such a fun one to play. I love the feel of it. I'll give you a few tips along the way as well, but we won't spend a huge amount of time on it, but yeah, I'll work my way through it with you. So you just start by doing a slide to fret 9 on the A. I'm probably doing vibratos here and there without really realising, but yeah, you can do that if you want. Then you go to 11 on the A, and you're just doing a hammer-on pull-off move there. So 11 to 12, back to 11. Only strum once though. That move happens quite a bit throughout this solo. So yeah, first finger, second finger, first finger. Jump down to 14 on the D with your third finger if you can. And then you go to 11 on the D and do that same move, 11, 12, 11 as a hammer-on pull-off. But that's on the D string instead. Back to 12 on the A, and then 9, 9 on the A. Then another 9, 11, 12, 11, 12 on the A, down to the D, 11, 12, 11, and then 11, 12, 11 as that hammer-on pull-off move, up to 12 on the A, and then 9 on the A as well. So I'll just run through that section a bit slower with you. I'll try and keep the feel as best as I can to the album, but yeah, it won't be spot on. That's the rough idea of it there. You're then going to jump down to 11 on the G. Try and use your second finger for that because you're going to do a really cool bend like this to come. So it's 11, 11, 11. You then hold fret 10 on the B. And at the same time, you're going to bend that fret 11 up and then down. And then up again and then back down. And then you jump to the 9 on the G, which I like to use my first finger for that. Then you do the same thing. 11, 11, 11, 11, and then the bends again. So I'll just go from the start of that again. And you sort of just hold that, sort of fades out a little bit there. Then you go 9, 11, 9 on the G as a hammer-on pull-off, and then 11 on the D. So I was using my first and my third, back to my first. Does that again, so 2 times in a row. Then just the 9 and 11. You then jump to 11 on the D, play that once, and then do 11, 12, 11 as a hammer-on pull-off again. 14 on the G, and then repeat this a few times. So 11, 12, 11, 14, little vibrato. Do it again. Then again with the vibrato. 11, 12, 11, and then 11, 12, 11, little vibrato. So I'll just run through that little section. How's that sort of feel? And then you get this cool move. So that's 14 on the D. So you strum it once and then strum it again but slide to 16. Play 16 2 more times. Go to A from fret 12. Slide to 14. Another strum of 14. 12 on the top string. Slide to 14. Play it a couple of times with a little vibrato bends sort of type thing. Hopefully that helps. At around 225 you get this cool section, which starts with just that open power chord into the fret 2 power chord, which we've been doing. You sort of let that ring, and then you get So 2 is a hammer onto 4 on the top string. 2 to 4 is a hammer on the A. 2 to 4 is a hammer on the D. Play the 4 and then bend it and then bring it back. So it's just a slight bend. Do the open power chord again. So 2. And then there's something like this going on the A string. So that's 2 to 4 just back and forth. 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. Then a 2, 2, 4. So I'm just using my first and third there. The third time around, you get this move, which is on the G, 2, 4, bend her up, and then bring it down, back to 2. Fret 4 on the D, 2 to 4 is a hammer on the D, and then a 2 on the G is a bend, up and down. My strings are so loose, it's so easy to bend that. So yeah, it sounds a bit out of whack. You could always move it up to the high strings as an octave too if you wanted. The last one is just open 2, open 2, open 2 on the top string. Which I think he's just holding the power chord as he does that. You'll then just revisit the opening riff again. Johnny singing. On the second one, there's one of the tracks that does a slide from 15. Third one's the same. And then this one, you build it up. And that gets strummed about 26 times before kicking back into the chorus. I'll just mention that in the second chorus, it's got a slightly different feel for the octave bit. As always, Josh likes to keep you guessing, so he mixes it up a bit this time around. It's pretty much the same where you slide up to 12, back to 9, and then you go back to 12 to finish it off. So something like that. And then everything else is the same. Go down to 2. Something like that. That last little ending there, it could also be a hammer on pull off to 2-4 there. So instead of being 4-4 to finish it, back to 2, back to 4 if you want. The double guitar tracks makes that a little tricky to decipher there, but both sound sweet. For the ending here, you're just stomping on that fret 2 power chord with some opens along the way, and then cut it off. So yeah, that's open 2, 2, open 2, open 2, 2, open 2. It's pretty much exactly the same as the riff with the at the end, but you just cut it off, keeping it tight on the fret 2. Like I mentioned earlier as well, I'm just keeping those fingers in position there when I do the open. That way it's so much easier to strum it in between. Yeah, it's a sick way to finish the song. Wicked song, that one. I hope that helps you out in some way. If you've got a question, please leave a comment below and I'll catch you soon. Bye.